Hello everyone, my name is Michael Williams and I'll be doing a review of Girl, Woman, Other by Bernadine Evaristo. Girl, Woman, Other is the most recent Booker Prize winner and is, for me, quite a step into a very different type of writing that I'm not usually someone that would adhere to. Girl, Woman, Other is specifically a book about women of color, and I mean, I think there's an obvious reason why, not typically, I'm not the typical audience for it. But don't let the title fool you. This is not necessarily a feminist book or even a kind of, I guess, cultural studies book. This is very much a novel, and a very nuanced novel at that. Not every character in the novel would describe themselves as black. Some are mixed race. Some are immigrants to England. Some have been living in England their whole lives, having been born there. The whole book is, for the most part, based in the UK. Nor is every character a woman. Some are natural women, some are transgender women, some of which are, there are also many men in the book, and men themselves are portrayed in very different ways. And many of the different characters are of different class structures. Some are very low class, underclass, some are working class, some are the creative class, and some are very high class. And and there's a lot of different nuances and different ways that ideologies and ideas and belief systems amongst all the characters are kind of played with in the book. So Girl, Woman, Other is actually surprisingly a book I would say is very easy to actually get into, despite I would say the title kind of maybe coming off as something that's very grandiose, but rather it deals with a lot of different ideas. And in fact, within the sizes of the book, it's not huge, it's quite large, it's medium-sized. It actually deals with a lot of these issues very nuancedly. I think that comes down to how well the writing style of the book works in the novel. There's this really strong rhythmic quality. The book itself kind of is written, rather than the usual sentence paragraph structure, it almost seems to come off like slam poetry, which is again another reason why when I came into the first parts of this book, I really thought it was going to come off as very preachy, because a lot of slam poetry is very, very preachy. But again, I have to reiterate this. If you give this book a go, it will be much more nuanced, much more thought out than you might expect going in. While Girl, Woman, Other does handle a lot of different topics, I think some of the topics could have been fleshed out a bit more. I also have a bit of an issue with the back end of the story. I found it start to get very confusing and messy, and also kind of, I felt like there was I felt like the book could have really used some moments that really stood out, like you would get in a lot of other books. I'm trying to think, but there were still a few handfuls. I think the chapter where the transgender male Morgan visits and eventually non-binary Morgan eventually visits a farm where the older Haiti at first doesn't accept this new gender role that Morgan has taken on, and then slowly over time does learn to do that. There's also another interesting moment in the book when a communist white male writer tells the more middle class black writer, the middle class black writer Amma, that she has given up on the people who are oppressed in society. And there is this weird, interesting dichotomy where some people are oppressed because of their color, and some people are oppressed because of their financial situation. And I think the character in the book kind of seemed a little bit ignorant of that fact. Overall, I think Girl, Woman, Other is a good entry-level book into literature. I don't know if it was, in comparison to some of the other winners of the Booker Prize, if it was as overwhelmingly good as them, but I think this is definitely something I'd recommend, especially to anyone who is interested in the issues that are represented in this book. Yeah, I'd probably give it about maybe a 7 to 8 out of 10.